There's a growing belief that Sean Payton will coach in 2023. And Jake, sometimes life is funny because it's not like this is surprising, right? I mean, this should not be surprising. We knew this from day one. Everything he intimated, everything that was kind of said is that, yeah, this was likely a possibility. But why I say it's a funny quirk in life, a lot of times thinking about the thing and experiencing the thing hit in completely different ways, right? In that as I'm feeling the emotions of a fresh retirement and a beautiful 2-hour press conference that is wide-ranging and very open and ruminative, and it's touching me quite a bit as I was like riding around my neighborhood enjoying a beautiful spring sunset, and I'm like, you know what, man? Sean's earned it. You know, if he needs a break and he needs to go somewhere else, that's okay. I find that I am losing a bit of my magnanimity.
I like how you looked at me. Like I was going to be like, yep.
I find that I'm losing a bit of that goodwill. Okay. Now that we are actually getting reports out there about him almost guaranteed coaching in 2023, and then the potential teams that he will be coaching for. So Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald cites an unnamed source close to Payton, probably Kevin Smith, if I had to guess, that lists the Dolphins, Chargers, and Cowboys as teams that would draw his interest, saying that he wants warm weather, a roster that can contend.
He had warm weather here.
I know. Don't get me started. But not too warm. I want warm weather, but not too warm, I guess. And he wants control over personnel decisions. So again, I think
you're not getting that with the Chargers. If you want me to,
you don't think so?
No, Tom Telesco is the GM there. He's done a fantastic job. He's not giving that up.
I just didn't know if it was like I didn't know how far teams were willing to lay prostrate in front of Sean Payton. Because, like, think about it. The Miami Tom Brady stuff, which has not really been talked about that much, is insane.
Right.
They were ready to make Miami a minority owner and pay Sean Payton, wasn't it like $20 million a year to be their head coach? Like, and that could still be in the cards. Like, if Stephen Ross really wants it, he could still maybe do that next year and buy out Mike McDaniel. Now, it'll depend on how this year goes. It'd be a bit crazy to me if he were to do that. But I guess it just shows me that some of these teams are potentially so desperate. Like, what will Jerry Jones do? What is he not willing to do to get Sean Payton in a Dallas Cowboy uniform? And I was wondering if maybe the Chargers would be in that same boat.
No, so the Chargers, as I mentioned, Tom Telesco, the GM there, he's been there for a long time now. He's been there for a decade now, and he's put together a really nice roster. ESPN or NFL Network, I forget which one, they just broke down and had their top 10 NFL rosters. The Chargers were number 2 on that list. I mean, they've put together. Now, the Bush League Bowl, part of that still plays, so don't get too excited. But they've put a really nice roster together. Like, you had Phillip Rivers, and then you drafted Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Like, you went from Drew Brees to Phillip Rivers to Justin Herbert. So they've done a really nice job of keeping this team together. There's not been a huge drop-off. And Brandon Staley just got hired a year ago. I know, trust me, I know he had some ups and downs, the fourth down decisions and all of that.
We're Staley fans on this program.
Like, I can't see them moving on from him after 2 years. Certainly if they make a run and get into the postseason. Same thing with Miami. Like, you just made a move. Now, the Miami story makes that one feel a little bit more real, even though they did just hire a new head coach.
Yeah.
If they were willing to give him what the report was, then who knows how far they would go. Now, the Cowboys is the Cowboys. That rumor has always been there. We know it.
And it makes most sense, unfortunately.
And it makes the most sense because of where – as Mario was laying out before the show, where Mike McCarthy is compared to the other coaches on that list.
Yeah, so that's this is making me even more angry then, because everything you just said makes the Dolphins feel unrealistic, makes the Chargers feel unrealistic, makes the Cowboys feel very real.
Since we've got 3 Saints fans in here, can I ask you all this question? If he goes to the Chargers and Dolphins, are you upset? And if he goes to the Cowboys, does that change the narrative?
I'm probably a tad perturbed if he goes to the Chargers or Dolphins, because it is kind of like, okay, you gronked us. You gronked us. You retired your way out of the city. You Carson Palmered us, which admittedly I don't think it's nearly as bad of a situation. Like, Gronk was traded to the Lions, okay? Carson Palmer had to deal with the Bengals at their worst for the prime of his career. Those guys, rightfully so, did he
go from the Bengals to the Raiders?
I
think so.
I think so.
Oh, God bless you, Carson Palmer.
But where did he end up balling out? Was it Arizona?
Arizona.
Okay, yeah, it was in Arizona, right?
So maybe it was Arizona. I don't know.
Well, whatever. The point is that Yeah, they were in worse situations when Sean was in and he gronked us. And so I get now after 50 years, again, as an adult, rational human, I can understand why Sean Payton is doing what he's doing. Anybody after 15 years, 16 years, whatever, may need a break, may want to change his scenery. I think that sort of stuff is only natural. And a lot of us may make similar decisions if we got to a point financially where you didn't have to make more money to live, right? I mean, if we're just being honest. But again, it doesn't turn off the stupid monkey part of my brain that gets a bit angry. But if it's the Dolphins and Chargers, that anger is orders of magnitude less than if it is indeed the Dallas Cowgirls and everybody's worst fears come to light. I mean, I will say, from a pure football perspective, the pairings sound good, right? Well, two of the pairings. Payton Hebert sounds pretty awesome. Peyton Prescott, again, sounds pretty awesome. I don't know about Miami. We'll see what Tua does this year. But no, by far, I mean, Mario and Danny, I don't know about you. The Cowboys would be a nightmare scenario.
Oh, I just thought about something, though. Lombardi's the Chargers OC. Spent a lot of time with little Sean.
Yeah, he did.
Very similar offense.
Yeah. So that's kind of where my mind went.
And I mean, if you're going to live somewhere and you got a ton of money, California's a great place to live if you're really rich.
And remember, the Chargers are not in Los Angeles. They're in Orange County.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They're in Costa Mesa. I mean, they are a stone's throw away from Newport
Damn,
Beach.
bro, how are these rookies making it out there? They're having to pay for OC real estate and getting half the money lopped off the top? It's not a good feeling.
Again, I try to tell y'all, when you play for the Chargers or any California team, it's a lot of money, but not as much as you think.
What about you, Mario? How you feeling?
It wouldn't make that much of a difference for me, honestly. Like, it would be a little worse if he went to the Cowboys, but at the end of the day, whatever team he's the head coach of is going to be really good and probably going to give the Saints problems. So
you're angry either way.
Yes.
You are angry.
Yes, he essentially quit on the Saints to have a year off, and he's going to go coach somewhere else. Like, that's not cool. And I said this months ago.
Danny, I see you nodding your head. You're angry as well.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It feels like a betrayal.
Yep.
It's 1 year turnaround, go to another team, quit on the city, quit on the Saints. Doesn't feel good at all.
You would get compensation, though.
He gronked us, and he made us say thank you for it. Yeah, okay, that is fair. That would be a little bit of payback. I think isn't it like a first or second round pick?
I think, yeah, you could, because John Gruden got a first-round pick for him.
I think he got a couple first-round picks, so you probably get multiple picks for Payton.
Well, okay. Well, that would go a little bit. I'm not going to give him credit for that.
But you're
you're
still losing Sean Payton and had to coach against him. Like, this is one of the best coaches in the NFL we're talking
Sean
about.
Betrayton. And now we got our new girlfriend and DA, and we're really trying to make DA happen, and I just hope that it can happen, right? I want Sean to look at DA on her arm and be like, oh, man, look how happy they look. I wish I had that again.
But Sean Payton won't have that Saints defense that he's had with Dennis Allen. So
that's a good point. The reason his team's been winning the last few years is because of the defense. And, yeah, he's had problems at quarterback and the injuries, but still, that is a good point by Danny.
And while Jameis put up good numbers in a limited scope post-Drew Brees, we've still not really seen Sean Payton post-Drew Brees, right? I mean, I think he'll be great. Don't get me wrong, especially because he's not going to. Okay, but he's not going to go to a team with a bad quarterback.
Can I ask y'all why? Like, why y'all think maybe it would be a no-brainer and he'd be successful? I know he's had some really good teams with the Saints, but like T just laid out, without Drew Brees, I mean, him and Mike McCarthy have the same resume.
Yeah, they do have the same resume, which is always interesting to me that we view them in such different lights.
I mean, we do. Is it because we're close to the sun here on this thing?
Absolutely too close to be talking about this without rational bias, right? Like, my entire point here has been that I'm emotionally irrational when it comes to this. The greatest thing that I would say for Payton is the market that has developed for him, right? The numbers that throughout his career, other NFL teams have been willing to pay him. Like, even when he turned in 3 7-9 seasons in a row, Jake, the Saints had to re-up him at basically $10 million a year because somebody else, the Cowboys were circling. So that's kind of been, I think, the greatest commentary on Payton is that NFL franchises have been willing to pay him a ton of money and think he's very good even when his teams have not been so. So, we'll see. And something about him, he just kind of gives off a more competent vibe than McCarthy.
Yeah, and McCarthy has the one Super Bowl ring just like Sean Payton does, but the last 5 years, like, there's no comparison. Payton's teams have been much better than McCarthy's teams. I know they made the playoffs this year, and the Saints did not, but the way that playoff game ended, too, against the 49ers, I think there's a lot of negative sentiment towards him right now.
No, I understand. I do. I'm just talking about more about the Super Bowl champions and having winning regular seasons and the resume there. I mean, like Sean's done a lot of good. He's got I think 630 win percentage. I mean, but like you could look at a lot of coaches like Doug Peterson's got I think a 580 win percentage. He's got a Super Bowl title. So my question is like, what is it that Sean does to get offers like, hey, $20 million per year, we're going to bring Tom Brady, you can have ownership in the team, compared to some other coaches who have only, and I say only, very respectably, only won one Super Bowl title?
It's a great question because I think the answer is kind of hard to answer in that you're not going to be able to answer it with just stats, right? It's going to get into things like just how people kind of view him, like we said, throughout the league from like a competency sort of standpoint. Last thing, we got to go to break. McCarthy, we talked about him yesterday, he has a bit of the wonky eye. Look for that next time you're watching. Remember, we talked about it with Big Black, and when I was at my biggest, sometimes your eye starts to go a little sideways when you get a little too fat. It's happening. Look at it next time. You'll see what we're talking about. All right, when we get back here, more OTB. Keep it locked.